You're watching the USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. Northern California and Oakland Coliseum playing host. It is the 173rd birthday for the city, and today 10,000 plus on hand to watch the Oakland Roots take on Sacramento Republic. Take a look at the Western Conference standings. Both these teams are beneath the playoff line as we hit the quarter pole of the season, but a win for either would move them into the top 8. And good evening, everyone. Joined by Devin Kerr, Mike Watts on hand. And welcome, Devin, I think, to one of the really great rivalries in the championship today.
The emotion in these matches has been filled full of passion. The performances spirited. Now, this is our 12th matchup in league play. 9 of the previous 11 decided by 1 goal or less. They've been right there from the get-go, but they haven't lacked action. They're averaging 3 goals per game, and so I look at a tactical change to start us off, Mike, from the Oakland Roots. Gavin Glinton, 4 matches back, he changes into this hybrid 3-back system that allows the front two to really be the catalyst for their success. Now, what I'm looking for is a bit more defensively as they push up high, bringing support with them, pivoting side to side. They've gotten a little bit more over the past couple of games, but what they haven't lacked at, most important for them, is the attacking side. They've been bagging goals left and right. Peter Wilson, the distributor, Wolfgang Prentice, the best goals per minute average start in Oakland Roots history.
Conversely, for Sacramento, Rodrigo Lopez is the face of the franchise. His 7th season with the club in his 3rd separate stint. He's played in all 4 divisions in the U.S. and 2 divisions in Mexico, and he ages like a fine wine. Let's go ahead of the curve.
The thing about great players, Mike, is they make everybody else around them better. And in the absence of Roro Lopez, you lose a couple of things. 1, you lose link-up play. 2, you lose confidence. Then everybody else starts to wander. So in this sequence, before Roro Lopez's return, 2 of your biggest assets, Russell Cicerodi and Christian Pirano, they're dropping deep, trying to find a way to pivot off the midfield. Luis Felipe is providing that extension. That's wrong. Bring Roro Lopez back into the mix. Now, you let your holding midfielders hold serve. They carry the possession moving forward, and your playmaker, Roro Lopez, as he pulls himself out here, he gets everybody in a one-on-one situation. You can get down into the channel with A.J. Edwards, find Lewis and Jameson on the back post run, or find the most dangerous piece on the field, Sebastian Herrera inside the top of the 18. Plain and simple, Roro Lopez on the field, he's not good. He makes everybody great.
The 37-year-old is nearly a year back from a torn ACL, has started in the Open Cup and played in 4 games in the regular season this year. His first start today adds to what's been a legendary career. The numbers certainly back it up. And think about it, since 22. On the field nearly as much as he's been off, but nearly twice as many wins when he features in some capacity. Legends are made in games just like this. They're about an hour and a half apart. Oakland and Sacramento. NorCal rivals set to meet once again, and for the first time at the Coliseum. Lineups and kickoff are coming up in Oakland. Welcome back to Oakland, where Sacramento's Tower Bridge Battalion has arrived in force. 350 plus taking the Amtrak through the Capitol Corridor. Meanwhile, Oakland fans never to be repressed. The USL on CBS Sports is presented by Best Western. Take a look at the starting 11 for Oakland Roots. Notable omission, no Jürgen Damm.
I'm actually going to work front to back here, Mike, because we talked about how lethal that front line is. I want to make sure that as they move side to side here, that there's good communication with Sinistera, Gibson, and Biarahonga behind them. I love what they've been able to do, pivot out the midfielders, but that back five has to come through it. As the three come, the five have to follow. Real quick, this could go wide open, and that's not going to suit them well because transitionally, Sacramento Republic, one of the best in the business right now, though. They've had some trouble closing out games, but that speed, you get Jack Gurr at the wingback position back, Luis Felipe back into the midfield, Roro Lopez, his first league start of the season. I really like the balance of this team. They're just trying to find consistency right now. We've seen a little bit of everything, just not matched together in totality over 90 minutes.
Neither of these teams have started the way they anticipated, but with Rodrigo Lopez coming back, Oakland feeling like they're as healthy as they've ever been under Gavin Glinton. Maybe it's all going to start looking up here today. Brandon Stevis, our referee, and we are underway from the Coliseum in Oakland. It is the Roots hosting Sacramento. Yes, the Coliseum, longtime home to the A's, to the Raiders, and now to this Oakland Roots franchise, which has most certainly taken root in the city. A number of homes until they've landed here at the Coliseum and made it their own this season. Comes all the way down to an Oakland native in Kendall McIntosh. Pushes everybody forward. Has started all 7 games this year. A couple wins, 4 losses, and a draw for the team. But a 2-game win streak in the league, despite frustrating losses in the Open Cup and the Jägermeister Cup in recent weeks. Swung back by Hackshaw. Kai Green. Here's Hackshaw. Senior international for Trinidad and Tobago. Bravo. Luis Felipe drops off to Cicerone. Toronto. Racing down toward the end line. Service up, Cicerone the target. Camden Riley away. Lopez down, Felipe.
Interesting, you know, you mentioned, Mike, frustration from Oakland Roots bowing out of both domestic cup competitions. I think they took a lot of good out of that, though.
Yeah, and look, the upside if you're Oakland, yeah, you lost in your Jägermeister Cup Open. There's still 3 more games there. You never know. There's still a path forward, but Open Cup and Jägermeister Cup to fall, it sounds like the state of Washington is persona non grata for the Roots right now.
Gavin Gittin, not a fan of the Pacific Northwest, we'll put it that way. And you know, the discovery process for me that was 2 letdowns against the Tacoma Defiance as well as Spokane, they found a lot of good in that. When I look back and see how they've started to go about some game management situations, certainly from a personnel standpoint, who they felt a little bit more comfortable with, so much so that Camden Riley, who's made his way back from injury, he's put himself into that right wing back position that they haven't utilized him in this tactical setup so far this season. That's also the trust that Gavin Gittin has for a very versatile player on that right-hand flank.
Sinistera goes down. He took a knock up high.
Real quick, you get flexibility on that back line. Barbara Jai can drop in and be the number one. Riley goes high. Same conversation moving the other direction. The midfield three, Sinistera starting to play a little bit higher. You come home as well. Something that, in terms of league play, has suited them quite well. Quality win over Orange County just 2 weeks prior.
Gurr shielding this over the line. Pressure from Wolfgang Prentice. Gavin Glinton, first full season as the head coach, 46 years old, now in his 4th year in totality with the Roots, was named the interim just over a year ago. 53 weeks in the job. Here's Gurr. Toronto into Luis Felipe. Glinton told us about the high highs and the low lows of 2024. Trying to make sure it remains process oriented. Little tweaks here and there, and how about you create competition, not just getting healthy, but putting competitors for the same position in the same room in preseason.
When have you and I ever had that conversation with Gavin Glinton about the opportunity to actually have squad selection?
Yeah, that's right.
Usually it's trying to band-aid this thing together because of players being unavailable. They've had visa issues. They've had injury problems in the past. Don't really feel like you and I have ever felt concerned about what the vision is in terms of how they're going to go about their business on the field over a 90-minute span for Gavin Glinton and the Oakland Roots. The problem is to see that project out, you need your full palette. This really feels like the first time that he's finally getting an opportunity to paint a full portrait.
Strong-willed header from Gurr. Bravo angles away. Further by Njai. Prentice. Gibson. Soars all the way down to Vidiello, one of the best in the game in the championship. He's put up extraordinary statistics. Sacramento, before that in Pittsburgh. That's a foul. Bit of aggression from Njai into Gurr. That's going to be a matchup to watch throughout the game.
Getting Jack Gurr back is going to be instrumental to long-term success of Sacramento Republic. Neil Collins has done a really good job of figuring out some pieces. Great step there by Luis Felipe.
Comes out to Benitez. Lopez didn't hear Sinistera's steps. Sinister counter press, and now the counter attack.
I was just about to say, Mike, I think Neil Collins has done a very good job early on, though certainly not all of the success they've won in the league table about, piecing this together. He's really won everything available to a manager within USL Championship play. 2021 USL Coach of the Year, also won the Eastern Conference that year. They've had a MVP under his tutelage, a Defender of the Year. Pretty much countless accolades, though. I don't really think he's going to care for any of them if you told him he could put a star above the crest. A second one for the Quails, first of his.
The only thing he has not achieved yet, he's made the final, fell with Tampa Bay in 21 against Orange County. Didn't get to play the 2020 final due to COVID. Ball through. And a real chance here for Oakland. Vidiello gets out, and now Vidiello leaps on top of the Prentice follow. Peter Wilson got in behind, and that dynamic duo coming to the fore 8 minutes in.
That's a top quality move centrally to get around Roro Lopez as they pulled him in, just coming on the crossing pattern. He splits between he and Jack Gurr. Now Jack Gurr brought himself a little bit high. All of a sudden, Jared Timmer's got to be cognizant of the run in front of him. He doesn't have the ability to drop back in to account for the diagonal across. That's really good ball movement by Oakland Roots, working outside in, drawing the Quails in, and then striking quick.
really intriguing conversation. You touched on it in the open, Devin. The combination of Wolfgang Prentice and Peter Wilson working side by side. Wilson, the newcomer, Prentice getting far more time after having gone out on loan to Madison last year here with Oakland.
I think for Peter Wilson, rightfully so, everybody's going to look at the goals that he's brought throughout his career, and certainly the 23 that he bagged in 43 matches in the Norwegian second division prior to his arrival here in Sacramento. But they found a real rhythm up top, Wolfgang Prentice and Peter Wilson. Wilson has found some quality tempo with the guys underneath. I mentioned Sinisterra. I think the way that he's been able to work off of both wingbacks has really suited Wolfgang Prentice to find some of those final moments for this attack going forward. But defensively is where the next steps are going to come from.
As a team, 9 goals scored, 13 conceded. All stabbed away from Prentice, and the first set piece of the game belongs to Sinisterra and Oakland. On a 70-degree sunny day, couldn't ask for better weather, better support. Service swung in toward Riley. Dominant header by Freddie Kleeman. Sinisterra provides an option, instead carried forward. Prentice the target from Njai. Gibson. Ball through. Epic ball, shot on frame. McIntosh nods back from Hackshaw. And that is Cicerone for the Republic.
And Jack Gurr, great vision. The pace that he puts on this, the way that he drops it just down in front of Russell Cicerone makes it a tad easier for him to bring down. Still a difficult one with the outside of the right boot to almost pull it in from behind and bring it into his path. Little moments like that, though, Mike, where you get a Sebastian Herrera who's capable playing back to goal. If Pirano starts to wander out, those two pivoting off of each other, Roro Lopez stepping up through the midfield, you would think that combination play would be the preferred method. And then Russell Cicerone with a quality asset in his back pocket, speed, quickly steps in behind. Multifaceted this attack is going forward, and that's the other thing, is getting all these players back healthy, the ability to now strike at a moment's notice. They didn't have that luxury early on.
Words right out of my mouth with Rodrigo. Getting back into the team and allowing a different final pass, a different texture to this attack.
Well, how about, Neil Collins directly saying that we put a lot of responsibility in the hands of Luis Felipe. No disrespect to him, he's not that player. Luis Felipe is not the guy that you want facilitating your attack, and certainly not 25 yards and in. So a lot of times you are getting a young player in Blake Willie and Luis Felipe playing that 8-10 pivot role, bumping up through. They just lost a lot of tempo throughout it. You lack rhythm, you lack the ability to find the connection points, and yes, it is certainly Roro Lopez, but the health of Jack Gurr, the lack of predictability within these movements going forward has really started chance creation to tick up a notch for the Quails.
Gurr's 4th year for the club. Luis Felipe's 5th year in Sacramento. Core that's been together. And when everyone's healthy, has a pretty clearly defined set of roles. Free kick here for Sacramento. Looks like they're going to touch this in play to Lopez. McIntosh not nearly loud enough. He would have had that with ease. Lopez trying to work off Gurr. There's Barano. Kleeman. Barano, now Gurr. Hey, show off your team pride in style with official merch from shopusl.com. Check out brand new tees, hoodies, novelty items, and more of your favorite USL team at shopusl.com by scanning the QR code now. Admit it, you like that Richmond Kickers logo.
It's one of my favorite up the roos. I'm sure that you're going to have some sort of list presented to me in the next couple of weeks for a ceremonial gift at one point in time this year.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. When you decide what you want to celebrate, you let me know.
Yep. Kleeman making new friends.
He's been stable so far this year. Freddie Kleeman followed his manager over from the Eastern Conference and the Tampa Bay Rowdies into the Wild West. Really one of the only constants on the back line in the early portion of the season that saw Lee Desmond making his way back from sustained injury in week 1. Jared Timmer having to deal with the same. Shel Benitez has worked his way in there. They've gone 3, they've gone 4, they've gone 5. Pretty much, Mike, outside of ringing you as the emergency replacement on the bench, everybody else has hit the field.
Well, they wouldn't have any wins if they had called me. Babukar Njai lofts in behind. Vidiello take that off the high point. And lest we forget, when you look at Neil Collins' history at Tampa Bay, their greatness, as many MVP candidates, good attacking players as they had, really came down to the combination of their 4 in the back.
100%.
Yen, Lasso, Scarlett, and then Evan Loro in goal. Ended up starting over 50 games in a row at one point. And the team was exquisite on the defensive end.
Well, the ability to close games out, I thought it was very impressive how quickly Neil Collins was able to quote that stat. You talk about the consistency of availability for your back 3 and then your goalkeeper, who was Evan Loro at the time. How about the fact that they got out in front, they stayed out in front 21 separate times. They scored the first goal 21 times that season. They closed out with 3 points. That's something that's bit this team early on the backside. Sacramento Republic and Indy 11, East and West respectively, have really struggled to get themselves over the end line. Second most points dropped from a winning position. Sacramento Republic, they've been able to be the aggressor. They've been able to create. They've been able to defend. They just haven't been able to do it over a 90-minute period just yet.
At the same time.
Yeah.
That's another knock on Njai. Past a quarter hour here in Oakland. And the athletic trainer is going to come take a look at Njai. A little helter-skelter from Oakland off the free kick. Njai good to go and stay in the game. One of 2 games in the championship on this Sunday afternoon, both in the state of California. Sacramento and Oakland matching up here. Elsewhere around the USL, Monterey Bay, Elijah Paul with a 1-0 lead over the Miami FC. 350 traveling support coming in from Sacramento, at least on the Amtrak. Ball slicing through for Riley, met by Vitiello.
What a ride that would be. 81 miles of just pure bliss.
Well, not for the Oakland fans, because there were a few on the train. Got booed every time they walked up and down the aisle. It's been reported to me. Let's maybe the headline with Oakland and Sacramento playing probably isn't lost on anybody in terms of where it stands right now in the baseball realm. I think the cities are probably on more or less the same page, at least these fan bases are. Gibson plays back. That's just good old-fashioned soccer rivalry hatred. Nothing more.
Soccer rivalry hatred.
Yeah.
A slight pause to be able to inject that into the sentence. Well done. There they are.
And I'm sure they were very kind to all the Roots fans that were on the train with them. As the offspring would sing, we've got to keep them separated. Opposite ends of the venue, and for good reason. Launch downfield, it's met by Vitiello. There's McIntosh. Roots entered the weekend at the playoff line on 7 points. Win would move them into a tie for 6th. At times a bit of a transient roster in totality, although they've kept more of the core together this year perhaps than previous seasons. They always seem to make do, make more with less. In that sense, you could say a bit like the Moneyball A's, except their owners actually care about the city of Oakland. This run's out of play.
Well, I was just about to talk about how Michel Benitez has been sitting a little bit deeper than Neil Collins probably would like, has allowed Camden Riley some clean passages up through, and then beautiful step up high. Quick little press to get in Riley's way. Unfortunately for Kai Green, he has to respond a little bit quicker than he would like, and late to the party into the referee's book. Something that certainly has not been an issue in matches past 66 cards. Over 12 games so far. We'll say 65 of which have been of one dominating color. Only red card issued. I was quite impressed, by the way, that in 3 separate games, 10 or more have been issued. That did include the coaching staff, to be fair.
Yep.
Including a 2024 outing last year when then Mark Briggs was at the helm.
Well, luckily for Kai Green, it's only his 2nd of this regular season. This drops in. Prentice for Wilson.
They do lead the lead, though, in yellow cards. Oakland Roots, they're aggressive. When they do make mistakes, they are quick to step up in, apply pressure, and I think there's a good IQ of if they can cede space and kind of the reset button that we have to go now. If we don't get there, we're in trouble. Tactical fouls that have caused a few more of the referee getting involved than they probably would have liked. It's a clear disconnect on the far side of that field right now between Sebastian Herrera and Christian Perano. Jack Gurris, he inverts himself. They just don't have enough of a presence on the outside, and Herrera has dropped in a couple of times to try and leak up with him, hasn't been able to do it.
Suddenly became a foot race, and now it's going to be a problem. It's a yellow card to Lee Desmond. Just his 2nd appearance in the league this year after an early season injury.
With all that aggression that you get, they over pivot, and that forces Freddie Kleeman to watch one of the runners, which was Wolfgang Prentice. Lee Desmond has to follow as Peter Wilson rightfully recognizes the space to drift over, knows that he's got the speed to jump in behind, and for Lee Desmond, just a little bit slow to react there. There's not much that he could have done. You could have tried to go on with the head, Mike, but if you don't get enough on it, you've just gifted a ball right to the attacker and hung out your goalkeeper to dry.
And with the ball being played further away by Wilson and the support even though it looks like he's got a clear path toward Vitiello, certainly a yellow is the right call there as well.
And the other thing about it is the removal of double jeopardy years ago. There's 4 pillars that you have to hit, one of which also includes making a soccer move, as they call it, on the ball. He's going for the ball there. He's not trying to maliciously take down the player.
Tell that to Peter Wilson. Njai's got this in his bag. Njai! That did take a touch. It is a corner.
To be fair, in the end, it was never truly threatening to any Vitiello. Just better safe than sorry here. We didn't need to have a touch. Then again, one of the best and most consistent goalkeepers in all the championship. Always knows when to just take that tiny little touch. It's been an interesting journey for them defensively so far to start 25. 7 league games to start the year without a shutout. It's the second longest streak to start a season outside of 2022, where they went 9 matches. That's, you know, it's funny, you talked about Neil Collins and the Rowdies. Defensively, that's where everything began, right? It's the back line, it's consistency, but the availability of players is one thing. The quality that came along with it. That's why when you and I have had conversations about this team, it is so uncharacteristic of a squad coached by Neil Collins to falter late in games, right? To make defensive mistakes that have cost them 3 points overall. I would say the good thing within that, Mike, is a lot of it has been on their own accord. They have been the ones that have been self-inflicting it to themselves. It's really difficult to look back and truly say that a team has outplayed them this season, even with the level of difficulty that their schedule has provided. There's only one team currently that they've played so far. That's Phoenix Rising, sitting at the 9th spot in the Western Conference, that is not above the playoff line.
Njai trying to shake off Gurr. Hey, Tuesday, 10 Eastern, catch Tacoma Defiance and Portland Timbers squaring off. It's the round of 32 in the country's oldest ongoing soccer competition. It's the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup on CBS Sports Network and streaming live on Paramount+. We'll walk you through some of the great games of this round of 32 at halftime. The following night, you get Phoenix Rising hosting Houston Dynamo, and Houston having won the cup a couple of years ago. Phoenix always having those sky-high expectations. Should make for a fun game here on CBS Sports Network as well. Louisville, Minnesota. Omaha will go to St. Louis. Sacramento, of course, will match up with San Jose. I think Oakland fans are really going to be rooting for Sacramento in that. What a difference 3 days makes. Corner here for the Republic. Driven away, settled, unloading. That blocked in from Timmer. Lopez reloads, decent ball, and the header is askew. Sebastian Herrera went diving for it. He wasn't the only one.
And Michel Benitez just clouds his vision overall here. The shot from Herrera got to be a little bit louder to pull the left wing back off. Great ball back to the outside by Roa Lopez, and all he's trying to do is just throw this into the mixture, and that's exactly what happens. About a 3-yard gap from Benitez and Herrera as he tries to make this move and catch a little deflection. Doesn't allow Sebastian Herrera to get full force on it.
Bounce off Cicerone. And now Riley on the receiving end.
Just got turned up underneath it. Camden Riley, watch that back foot as he comes back through. Feels like he caught the ankle. Can't blame Michel Benitez for trying to step through the wingback. Much better job over the past couple of minutes of Benitez to play this game a little bit higher. Has started to remove their ability to play through Riley. Taxi.
Gurr coming through midfield. Herrera dropped in. Pirano. Sacramento 2014 champions. #1 seed in 2016 and 2023. The Open Cup final in 2022. Their 12th year. Starting to find themselves 3 unbeaten in all competitions, including a win in the Jägermeister Cup over SoCal's new League One side, AV Alta. Finished last season with just 1 win in their last 9. It says a lot when a coach's tenure out of position is as short as Neil Collins could say it was after he was let go of Barnsley over in England. Certainly Mark Briggs was the apple of every team's eye with a position open over the offseason after departing Sacramento. Lands in Birmingham. Chat about that match made in heaven, they hope, at halftime. And then there's Gavin Glinton here in Oakland. Couple wins in the league have buoyed them off the bottom of the table, and another win here. Those wins against rivals always seem to carry more than 3 points with them. Go a long way. Down by Gibson. Deflected by Wilson. Here's Jack Gurr. And lest we forget, Devin, Sacramento, these first 45 minutes, their ability to make the most of them carries just a little more weight in the sense that Oakland will look ahead to a league game next week. Sacramento has to play again against San Jose on the road in just a few days in the Open Cup. See that game on Paramount Plus, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday.
Well, they've got to play in 3 days' time, and that also goes back to getting these guys back and healthy is one thing. Getting them to sustain 90 minutes over and over again is another. So Robo Lopez on his first league start. You've got Lee Desmond, who's just made his way back as well. Jared Timmer, I would argue that although he has been good, I don't see him at the highest of level, full match, 90-minute fitness just yet either. Against what is one of the most wild rides you will experience in MLS this year in Bruce Arena's San Jose Earthquakes. They've got a plethora of options going forward. The best to ever do it, Joseph Martinez in the Quakes uniform now. Chidro Arango, and so that back line's going to be very busy. Well, similar to maybe what you saw against Galaxy en route to that 2022 Cup final run.
Late game winner from Luis Felipe. The 3 MLS teams vanquished by Sacramento in that run. Riley's service denied, sent away by Benitez.
That was the first time, by the way, that I found out that Neil Collins was at that game.
He
You
was
aware
at
of that?
He was at the final in Orlando and said he and his son were there. Big Sacramento fans that day.
Love that. Plenty of person would not admit such a thing, and he said no, it was for the league, it was for USL. I believed in them, and they were, to be fair, he said they were, 70 minutes in.
Riley, that deflected by Lopez.
Very close to getting that over the end line, if not for a few drastic mistakes made down the stretch.
Chipping away at it, ball across for Wilson. Although it should be noted, Neil Collins waited to tell the world that he was at that game rooting for Sacramento until after he got the Republic job.
Funny how that works.
Here's a look at the chance.
The irony in all of it, and I'd say that overall the second chances that have been for Oakland Roots haven't been the greatest, and a good recovery defending by Republic on the dropbacks. I still maintain there's a clear disconnect on that far side of the field. A couple of the times they've tried to build through it, uncharacteristic turnovers. Roro Lopez can't seem to find any of the link-ups with that front line. And the opportunities have been there, Mike. Simple full of 5-yard balls that caused some decision-making to lack.
Yeah, Rohanga indicating he thought that stayed on the line, should have been a corner. Instead, it's a quick throw. Kai Green, scatter shot. Gibson hits a big switch. Gurr, Sinistera settles. Gurr intervenes. Riley. Oakland Roots hosting Sacramento, the venerable Oakland Coliseum. If you got in the car right now, you'd be a little late to the end of the game. From Sacramento's Hard Health Park, it's about an hour and 40 minutes, door to door. Luckily, fans don't leave with tickets in hand in the 37th minute. One of the closest rivalries in the league. Pop forward, poor initial touch. This will deflect out. It ends up being a goal kick. Wolfgang Prentice had 2 whacks at it.
Some miscommunication. Freddie Kleeman turned around to Danny Vitiello here. Felt like the goalkeeper was kind of coming. It's still his poor touch that gets them into trouble. It's an awkward one, too. The way that he turns, nearly knocking this right back into the path of the attacker.
Bravo settles. Gives it over to Gurr, though. Free kick, Sacramento.
Feels like this game is just begging for a vital moment from a set-piece opportunity, given some of the lack of chances that have yet to be produced. Saw one from that man about 15 minutes prior, 30 yards out. Why not? The spectacular from Mr. Sacramento. Roro Lopez and that right wand of his.
Lopez balls away from Herrera. Throw for Sacramento. It's a foul from Benitez. Scoreless late into the first half. Here comes Riley. Ooh, nice move by Gibson. As soon as they had it, they lost it off of Prentice.
That's certainly a quality move to the midfield from USL Championship veteran Tyler Gibson, and This touch just sloppy. Does jump up off the deck a little bit for Wolfgang Prentice in a cushion we're not accustomed to seeing being given by Lee Desmond on that left side. First 40 minutes sort of feels like beginning of the year for both of these teams, almost, but almost doesn't count. They get about 75% of the way there. Things break down, fortunately for them. That conversation hasn't progressed in their defensive third yet.
Saw some of the images here at the Coliseum. Gavin Glenn at the beginning of the year said, I'm excited to coach in it, for the players to play in it. So he got chills thinking about the Oakland sports history of it.
Oh, what a ball.
Ball through, Luis Felipe. So about that 75%.
I mean, that is, you can't get much cleaner of a ball played through here by Russell Cicerone. You know, it's just about to mention how they've sort of negated the idea of playing out deep, so they've pushed their two central midfielders a little bit higher as you release Luis Felipe. Great run. Cicerone and Felipe adjust back into that space. You got to hit the target there. 5-hole through Kai Green. No excuses. Make the goalkeeper make a save in that situation. Got to hit the 8x8.
Just one goal since the beginning of 2024. Over 40 league games. He had 7, Luis Felipe, in 2023. The year prior, the 3 goals in the Open Cup really buoyed Sacramento in the competition all the way to the final. Riley with a heavy touch. Benitez, Riley helped to keep it. Prentice driving, couldn't thread Riley. High to Cicerone, he got whacked by Biruanga. You know, it'd be easy to say they just didn't want to shell out on the longer nameplate for Biruanga, but they do have a Mark Vilashvili. And they throw that on the back, Nakagi, I think. We'll see.
To spend a day in your brain. It's quite possible what some of these managers are thinking right now. Unnecessary to step out there from Honga on the midfield. A little cut back through. Uneventful, would say the 42 minutes have been so far. And again, defensively, there have been some real key moments that both of these back lines have been able to eliminate opportunities from.
Lopez seeking Desmond. Cicerone.
This is what I was talking about, Mike. Notice how they pretty much pushed everybody up, which is fine. The problem is no one had dropped down in. Good look by Roro Lopez to finally come and pick it up to create that segue between the units. It's something that early on prior to his return, good backline defending, side-to-side motions from, you know, whether it's you're looking at your midfield 3 the way that they were building, it could be 5, could be 4, and then quality attacking moments from that front line. They just never fully were able to put it all together, and seemingly found more of those situations over the past 4 matches since his return. There's also a standard that Roro Lopez brings along with him, you know, that competitional aspect, training environment. Even though he came and went from day one, he's the standard bearer within the organization, one of the old guard, if you will, that you look around this league and the amount of respect that he carries from his peers. I'd say maybe I could name 3 or 4 other players that carry a similar stature. Bernardo Forbes just departed us, right?
Yep.
For the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Aiden Quinn is another type of guy that you would look at. They aren't aplenty, that's for sure. Generational type guys that take over a league, take over a dressing room, and right now, Neil Collins just hoping that Robo Lopez could take over this match.
Prentice denied by Jared Timmer. Had the best chance, Babaku Njai. The 40-yard free kick that took a deflection to get above the bar. Njai, header, snap back, was looking for Riley. Not sure he's really looking for anybody unless he had eyes in the back of his head, but the idea was good. McIntosh sends it away. 2 added minutes at the end of the first half. Sacramento's going to have to think quite a bit about how they want to put the second half lineup together. Midweek game coming in San Jose. Oakland trying to put the right foot forward here in front of 13,000, 14,000 plus. Domineering effort into the back of Prentice. Timmer circles around, and Wilson rides him down. Attempt to flick that on, falls in front. Kept away from Cicerone, but offside by any measure.
I would imagine the conversation for both of those managers are going to be, any of you boys interested in cleaning this up in the second half? It was sloppy for both of them, to be fair, because there were moments, not great ones, but chances for either one of these teams to step through and break the deadlock, just not cleanly enough. The back line giving quite a few moments away to the opposition. Midfield for both squads hasn't really been overly aggressive. Almost a fear, Mike, within this rivalry to make a mistake and have that slip up cause the opener.
Spinning back inside, Wilson back for Prentice. Is the run out on? This is probably the final action of the first half. Gibson, that's it, yep, halftime. So Oakland and Sacramento will head to the locker room without a goal between them, not yet. Wilson and Prentice talking it out. The reinstituted defense of Sacramento had to break much of a sweat here at the Coliseum. 350 plus on the train up from Sacramento, trying to will the Republic to a victory. Oakland, home sweet home, unable to break through. A look at the Open Cups round of 32 when we come back. Welcome back. The USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. That is Pilo. Always a concert, seemingly, at halftime to serenade the Oakland locals. The Roots and the Republic are scoreless here at halftime. Come back into the booth, everyone. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. And, of course, if you think Sacramento for the last half-decade, you've thought about Mark Briggs. The old sheriff is the new sheriff in Birmingham.
Talents go from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference. Third most wins in USL Championship regular season history. He's gotten the #1 seed. He's gotten to an Open Cup final. And the hope is that now he can get this roster into a much higher standard in the Eastern Conference. Certainly, they don't lack for investment. This team is all about winning, and they have put money towards it. They've underperformed, though, and it just felt like the ideas became a bit stale under Tom Sohn. But they are not lacking for talent whatsoever, including one of the best to ever do it in USL Championship play, Enzo Martinez. They get him healthy, you should start getting results. Mark Briggs gets a draw on the weekend. Do not be surprised to start see the Legion creeping up the Eastern Conference.
And Briggsy cheesing in that photo. Of course, led Sacramento to the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup's final in 2022. How about some big games in the round of 32 this coming week?
I would say that this is probably the closest that you can call it ahead of time. Cup set alert. DC United, they're struggling in the back line. They concede a lot in terms of frequency, but they also score a lot. They've only been shut out 2 times this season, but they've only got 1 clean sheet to their name. There are going to be goals within this match, and certainly Cal Jennings, second in USL Championship with 6 goals in 7 matches this year. They could provide some dramatics when push comes to shove.
And Louisville City makes everyone a little nervous.
I say cup set, this is probably the best game, to be honest. You know, Minnesota United, Eric Ramsey, this team is difficult to score upon, but their flexibility and the way they go about their business going forward, much better this season. I feel like I'm talking about Lou City when those comments come out of my mouth, because there is no team better in the championship when it comes to next man up type views. They can build back to front, they can play in wide open space, and they're one of the better defensive units we've seen over the past half decade.
And then, hello, old friend, this rivalry again.
Get ready. Is this the best that we get between MLS and USL Championship and Open Cup play? It was a great question posed to me by one of the front office staff from Sacramento Republic. I would tend to agree. Again, San Jose Earthquakes, high-flying attack right now. Bruce Arena's teams are not known for that, but they transition better than anybody in MLS. This will be a track meet. Will Sacramento Republic have goals to follow?
They have never won in San Jose. We all win because we're watching Pilo. Big Pilo fans here in Oakland. Roots and Republic are scoreless at halftime on CBS Sports Network. Oakland, California. The Roots and the Republic matching up here on CBS Sports Network. One of two games in the championship on this Sunday afternoon. Scoreless at the intermission. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. Let's show you the first half highlight.
It was a good start for both teams, to be fair. They came out, there was high energy. The field seemed wide open, and so with that came some transitional moments. I was very surprised at the lack of organization on the back line. Desmond Kleeman and Jared Timmer seemed to have a solid 10 yards of separation within it. One of the better movements we saw in terms of overall build was from Peter Wilson on the diagonal back in. Good vision to split the black line. Now, it's the response by the substitute, Jacker, who had come off the bench. He finally gets himself back into the lineup, and Russell Cicerone. This Sacramento Republic team under Neil Collins, what's interesting about them to me is, with the addition of Roro Lopez, the build, the overall schematics that they bring to the field seems more fluid. The consistency of it certainly was not the case in the opening 45 minutes. And after the first three chances, what we got was mistake-driven football, where your opposition was saying, we're going to make one 20 yards and in. The problem is, Mike, no one was able to capitalize on it. Oakland Roots had nearly 66% possession, 15 minutes to go in the first half. I am shocked by that number.
Well, they're looking for a goal to go with it. The USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. Second half coming up. Today's travel map is brought to you by Best Western. Where's Roro been?
He's been a little bit everywhere. The problem is he wasn't efficient in a lot of his touches. This is a guy who over the course of his career, Mike, hovers right between 80 and 85% depending on the year. He's at 71% passing accuracy in the first half. Again, way too many careless giveaways. To be fair to him, at the close of the first half, Thought he became a little bit more inventive, tried to attack the game. That created more chances going forward. But they have to be way more active in overall rotation to free him up in higher up positions to start to get service into the box to that front line.
Rodrigo Lopez at 37 years old. Don't suggest that his career is cascading toward the sunset. He doesn't take kindly to that. He puts on all-league performances year after year. And now that he's got his health again, trying to lead Sacramento forward. On to the second half we go. The USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. Here's Cicerone, Kai Green. So an early statement of intent right out of the locker room. Oakland and Sacramento both know that with a win, they would move into the top 8 in the Western Conference. Top 8 will make the postseason at year's end. At this stage, each team has played about a quarter of their 30 games. And all teams just one game of their Jägermeister Cup slate, the new intra-league cup between the Championship and League One sides.
Oh, what a leave.
Nice dummy, ball through. Gurr trying to get there, ricochets across, and now Prentice gets it away. Referee is pointing. Penalty, and Sacramento goes to the spot. Hackshaw can't believe it.
That's an unreal leave coming right through the midfield. Good pressure as Verano drops down underneath in the pocket. Notice Luis Felipe. He creates that mismatch that allows Roro Lopez to drop a little bit deeper. Now, as the ball sprays itself through, actually thought initially this was an incredible recovery tackle right there from Babacar and Jai. The problem is Jack Kerr on that late run watches like just there. Does a really good job to get himself at the last minute out in front of it. How much contact is there actually on that follow-through on Jack Kerr is my question. I don't see him hit the player.
Njai picks up the yellow card. There is no VAR, but we can look again.
Again, watch the trailing leg. I don't see him make contact at all, Mike. That left foot of his, to me, that's the attacker. All due respect. I think he's dragging his leg a little bit, and if anything, clips the ground. Either way, referee has pointed 12 yards out. Action-packed to start the second half, and a chance for the visitors to go ahead.
Russell Cicerone goes to the spot. Kendall McIntosh in his career has saved 4 of 26, but 0 penalty saves since July of 2018. Cicerone lines it up and scores! Tower Bridge Battalion goes crazy, and the Republic lead in Oakland.
Said they needed to be cleaner, a bit more inventive, more importantly, have some passion moving forward here. So let's go back to the vertical stretch. Great ball back through, excellent leave. I still don't see the contact overall, but we're past it. Cicerone, an opportunity to continue the quality start that has been 2025 from him now. 5 goal contributions in 7 matches. What a compliment to Neil Collins and the Quails, and what a start to this second half.
Cicerone's 3rd goal of the season. Injury-marred 2024 campaign, but go back to 2023 at 17 goals, concluding a stretch of 3 straight seasons with 15-plus tallies. Yet to win nor lose Sacramento when they score first this year. Good tackle into Riley. And Devin, the toughest part for Brandon Stevis, we get to look at the reverse angle. When you see the legs from Njai go up in the air the way they do, and you see Gurr stumble forward, I know what he's looking at, and I get it. I really do. Doesn't make Oakland feel better without VAR to help.
Let me show you one more time, too, because to your point, Mike, from this angle, we can see at least what we think is on that left side, and even as it's slowed down there, I don't see it at all. But what he's saying on that diagonal, he's seeing the hips and he's seeing the sweeping motion of the leg coming across. I would say that I'd like to have seen a longer conversation between the referee and the assistant referee on the near touchline, who should have had a better angle. A longer conversation there makes me feel a bit more comfortable, but still, to your point, we looked a couple of times, still don't see it.
Corner in, Lee Desmond was arriving at the back post. Exactly right. The AR on this side of the field, near sideline, would have had the best view of that of any of the 4 officials. Here's the corner, and watch Desmond sneak in.
Again, that's some of the frustration that was being shared by the Oakland Roots back line, where, you know, just the emotion that you and I carried through the sequence, where it's this brilliant ball played through, just fully dissects Oakland's defense. Jack Kerr gets the run in behind. You think that Babacar Njai has made an incredible recovery, and all of a sudden you're looking around going, wait a second, how did that just play out? Some of the same sentiments being shared by Oakland Roots players right now, but no time to fret on what already took place. Just barely into the second half. Plenty of opportunity to work your way back in. And to be fair, the better chances in the first half did favor Oakland.
That is a foul on Gurr. Little injury ahead of the game against Phoenix a couple weeks ago. Did not feature against Alta in Jägermeister Cup last week. 6 starts in the league this year after an 8-assist campaign last season. One of the better wingbacks in the league. Bravo. Prentice playing early. Vidiello, that hung up. Panos Armanakis is angled over to the 4th official, and Oakland may start dipping into their bench here shortly. Header out. Riley. Wilson charging. This is going to be outside the area. Vidiello.
That is, I got to tell you, this is an interesting start to the second half for me. Credit to Danny Vidiello, who goes on walkabout just outside the 18 and draws the contact, but another one where Peter Wilson is going to be left scratching his head as the day's done for Camden Riley. His debut at wingback for Oakland Roots on that right side didn't go as expected. And you would imagine this is going to be a shape change, flatten things out just a little bit, add another attacker in a more advanced position to Panos Armanakis. I would imagine this drifts more into a front 3 now, Mike. It would allow him to float a little bit centrally underneath, be more of a creator. You can also bring him off that left-hand side where they found some success, more so in that 10-type role, dueling with Sinistera. Challenge that back 5.
Did that catch Gurr's arm? Njai thought so, and so did the fans. Tyler Gibson chatting up the official a bit further about it.
No chance. No. Nope. Absolutely not.
Credit where it's due.
Off the badge. Well taken. How would you look in the Sacramento stripes? I've seen you in the magical Oakland jersey.
Men with my BMI should not wear horizontal stripes. I don't know a better way to put it.
I feel like the color would mask some of
that's where you're
the
wrong.
ambition in that statement.
Yeah. If I walked out into a public setting in that kit, my face would be redder than the shirt.
Italian schmedium is not your choice.
I've actually got the GPS coordinates of the Coliseum stitched into the Oakland jerseys. These are, dare I say, a bit inspired by a former inhabitant of the venue. Charlie does it right.
I like what they've done over this tactical change. Again, 4 matches now, 4.5 through.
Oh, ball knocked down, and McIntosh able to jump on the grenade.
It's freed Sinistera to come a bit higher, and they haven't been able to really work through him yet this afternoon. Ton of ground coverage next to Tyler Gibson and Bobosi in that midfield that has become shadows for Roro Lopez and Luis Felipe.
That's a free kick over Gurr's objection. And Wilson's gotten a couple knocks tonight. He'll field tomorrow. Monrovia in Liberia is featured in the Liberian national team.
It's the head and the arm, to be fair, that comes across and gives the temple a knock for Peter Wilson.
Wilson attended to. Sacramento lead from the Cicerone penalty in the 48th, 1-0. Wilson's back up. Neil Collins looks on. The Sacramento manager, aware of how great his teams have been historically protecting leads. Talked about that magical 2021 year in Tampa Bay. They reached the championship final. Got the first goal 21 times. Won all 21 games. Wilson, perhaps the most threatening option for Oakland to try and undermine Sacramento again. 6 dropped points in the 3 games in which they have the opening goal this year. And Gavin Glinton trying to stretch Oakland's league run to a 3-game win streak. Lest we forget, Njai, to reiterate, didn't miss by much, and it's definitely not 362 feet away.
Or send your post.
Njai. All right, Mr. Crystal Ball.
You could see it, to be fair. Danny Vitiello, too close for comfort. He left a lot of real estate available. The wall seemed a bit off, too. When it's askew like that, Mike, you don't have to get as much on it. You just need a little bit more bending. I think Babacar and John just didn't get enough English on the ball to come back across. Notice how it bounces, too, about, say, like 7 yards out or so. It takes some of the momentum away from it. You get it to dive a bit later than causes more concern to the goalkeeper. Carry some of that momentum.
Hackshaw whisked along. Familiar battle here. Njai last to touch it. In from Gurr. Sought Pirano. Up from Bobosi. Swiped away illicitly by Timmer. The other side of it with Desmond and Timmer, you're trying to stretch these guys out. You get to an hour now, and this is really for center back when you start making decisions. They've got to go again on Wednesday night in San Jose. And they'll host Indy, Vegas in the league. McIntosh really made a mess of that. Kept it away from Herrera. He's been in great goal-scoring form, but really hasn't sniffed the ball much today. Desmond. Cicerone for Herrera. McIntosh. Let's try this again. Cicerone slips through. Ball for Pirano, met by Gibson. Benitez. Gibson there again. He's had some tremendous years in this league, Gibson. Touches forward. Lofted in behind. That'll check up. Wilson. Leaves it off. Armenakis. Supremely skilled player getting toward the end line. No look pass down the line for Njai for some reason. And Lopez sending Cicerone. And Green handles it. Gibson, best known in the league for his time in Indy and Louisville. Gurr cranks it forward to the final third. And Hackshaw nearly overtaken by Herrera and then holds him off, wins a foul.
It's a bit ironic, as deep as the hatred runs for those two clubs. The 11 in Louisville City, that you could be such a cult hero for both. Tyler Gibson. Yeah. Not many have been able to cross the picketing line and live to tell the tale.
No, the Louisville-Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest divides households. But not the Gibson house.
Dictionaries, too.
Yeah. They had the option for shorter words. Or just a shorter title. Really, the connections between these teams far more on the technical staff than they are the two sets of rosters historically. Armenakis getting jiggy with it. Gavin Glinton spent some time in Sacramento. Jordan Farrell, the sporting director, as well. Ball across, swept away by Timmer. Luis Felipe, Armenakis, shimmies, Sinistera, Njai. Sinistera, Njai. Swept away, Biruanga. Back now for Green. And a letdown at the end.
A little bit fearful of the change that was. Enos Armenakis coming in and Riley taking a seat, not because of the personnel change, but tactically what they've done. They brought Wolfgang Prentice out to this right side. He's starting positions a little bit deeper. Peter Wilson seems to be operating a little bit more by his lonesome and just don't have the same sort of link up that we saw between the two strikers in the first half. Certainly not what we've seen over last couple of league matches that has seen absolute fire in the final third. Again, just not taking the easy ball in front of them, and turnovers like that, Mike, later on in the season, teams are going to make you pay. A bit fortunate that both of them this afternoon have not been put to the sword more.
Only sword-wielding player today has been Russell Cicerone with his 48th minute penalty. This slips through for Peter Wilson. Cutback ball, angled away from Sinisterra, and there's Vidiello putting himself in harm's way.
The good news is within that change, they have found some movements for Peter Wilson. Clever ball played in. Jared Timmer, he tried to pick the pocket early here, and just looks like he misjudges the overall pace within the ball that comes over the shoulder.
Here's Bravo, the pride of Santa Clara. Now Gibson.
That is just a real tight amount of space right now, as compressed as that back line is for Sacramento Republic. Roro Lopez, Luis Felipe doing a really good job of closing down any of the movements coming forward by Bobosi and Tyler Gibson, but also it's forced almost everything to the outside because you can't find that connection from the interior. Two things have to happen. Quicker rate of play. When you get into these one-on-ones out here, it doesn't have to be Abkar and Jai against Jack Gert. Yes, that specific matchup was there, but as you rotate out, quick ball back in, let Peter Wilson run onto it, or as you start from a deeper lying nature, don't be afraid to hit that direct ball up over the top twice. We've seen them get him behind already.
There's the ball over the top. Armenakis offers the cross. Wilson down, blasted by Njai. Gibson waited on it, and Cicerone running back the other direction. Kleeman to the rescue for Sacramento on the other end, and now Hackshaw the foul.
That's beautiful defending by Freddie Kleeman. One of those ones that this stat is not going to show up on any sheet. Watch the way that he sets himself coming back across the 6. Jared Timmer just a bit late arriving. Thought Peter Wilson was going to have a go at Vidiello. Good read by Freddie Kleeman. No time to get caught flat-footed there, Mike. Well done on the recovery. On the back line for Sacramento Republic prohibited the game-tying goal for Oakland.
Don't think you need closed captioning to understand Hackshaw's issue with the officiating a moment ago. And Cicerone attended to. At his best, you're talking one of the most electric players in the league. And Hackshaw saying he grabbed at his shirt and then fell forward once he lost his balance. Sacramento with 22 minutes to play, trying to make a penalty stand here in Oakland. The goal scorer remains down for Sacramento. And a chance for both sides to come up for air for a moment. 48th minute penalty. One that probably will go to the dubious goals committee. As the great Matt Stubbington used to say, the dubious penalties committee.
If you're Neil Collins, probably very fearful of what has to be deja vu for Russell Cicerone. The hopes that this isn't a real issue come long term. Trying to get him back to form. They have seemingly done so early on. Again, his penalty in the 48th minute, the separation, his third on the year. Also got 2 assists to boot in 7 matches so far. It's form that we saw at the start of the 2023 season, that he had 9 goals and an assist in his first 12 matches. Now he picked up an injury, struggled for fitness overall, still ended up with 18 goal contributions, but never really fully got back to the type of quality he's done so early on here.
Rasmussen and Johnson in off the bench. Double sub for Oakland. Manuel Johnson from Fairfield here in California, Sacramento Academy player. Got his first taste of the pro game in Charleston, went over to Hibbs, loaned back to the U.S. to play for Austin for last season in Pittsburgh, splitting time on the bench, off the bench, and in the lineup for the Hounds. Mentioned Gavin Glinton previously was a technical director at Sacramento United before becoming an academy coach for the Republic. Jordan Farrell, sporting director for the Roots, former head coach. Had a role in Sacramento's academy as well, and Emmanuel Johnson, a Republic Academy product. Unfortunately, while Davion Kimbrough is available, the 15-year-old could very well feature. We will not see Chibi Okebu, the 18-year-old defender. Didn't make the 20-man roster today. An academy that has historically produced quite well. Sacramento going to the bench for the first time. Cicerone set to come off. Look back at the penalty in the 48th.
Decker taken out just outside the 6 by Babacar and Jai. Russell Cicerone, that's his 3rd goal of the season. Has been probably the most quality of player in a Sacramento jersey, and certainly on the attacking front. And for Blake Willie, what an impressive start for the academy product under Neil Collins that has seen a lot more experience, and that's a handball.
Play on, shot ripped wide. Armanakis coming forward for Oakland. That's as close as the Roots have gotten.
Very surprised that they didn't blow the whistle here. I thought it definitely came off the hand that whipped back through. Certainly looks like it does there. Kleeman on the initial challenge coming back through. Good follow-up. I like the idea here. This is where it feels like they should thrive a bit more, with Armanakis dropping underneath Johnson and Wilson.
Rodrigo Lopez won it for Sacramento. And a rare moment on a broken floor. Willie.
Just go back to him. Just turned 18 years old, excuse me, this week. A lot of development late in the season last year, and just now, Quayle's starting to reap the rewards. Neil Collins says that his fitness levels are insane, constantly on the move, and my favorite thing about it is when he addresses what his first choice selection would be for the 11. It's hard to remove that 18-year-old from that conversation. Feels like he would almost always be involved in top pick right now.
Sacramento trying to double their money. There's McIntosh. And to your point about Willie, Neil Collins gave a lot of credit, as McIntosh has come up a bit lame here. A little something extra at the end of it. Gave a lot of credit to Mark Briggs, said all that development, 9 games, a start, 67 minutes in the league, doesn't seem like a ton. He was on the bench 18 times more. He was practically a part of the pro team when he signed his deal in November of 2023. And while he didn't feature a ton, those minutes, those experiences, those practices all led to him being able to jump in and start right off the bat this year when they needed him.
6th Academy graduate overall to debut for the Sacramento Republic first team. And I'll tell you what, some of the structural changes that have taken place for the pathway to professional within the USL ecosystem. Want an opportunity to get a full breakdown on that. Spoke with technical director of the USL Men's Pathway, Liam O'Connell, earlier this week, Mike, on USL All Access. You and I really enjoyed that conversation, about a half hour or so, where whether you're 12 years old, 16 years old, guys moving into the collegiate ranks, how it affects the first team overall. I love his ability to kind of expand on the ideas now and how it's not just affecting this tiered structure, how it is really for the betterment of the greater good of development around this country. Also one of the better beards in the game, Liam O'Connell.
Pretty much every instance, follically, he was up to the task for that interview. Johnson took a knock. And payback. And Timmer, one of the regrettably oft-injured center backs this year, really feeling this knock to his hip as he goes down. So Neil Collins, contemplative. Hope it's nothing major for Jared Timmer. Neil Collins looks on, and you have to think, after just getting that preferred trio together, maybe the first time this year, you'd have to go back to week 1, I guess. Timmer jousting with Johnson.
Probably feels snake bitten right now. I'd say well done by Jared Timmer defending-wise to slow his run and impede the path of E.J. Johnson. A little love on the back end was always going to be an issue for the defender. Nice to see him up and moving again. What a luxury he is to have within this lineup. The quality of service he brings off of that back three. His ability to close space down, ton of pace behind him, good decision making. It's been clean on the afternoon.
And let's be honest, if Sacramento had had Kleeman, Timmer, as ball back in play now, thankfully, and Desmond together, you've ceded 6 points off scoring first and not finishing the job. I'm not saying every instance they would have gotten the full allotment, but I feel pretty confident in saying they would have at least once or twice, and we wouldn't be talking about Sacramento being beneath the line. Gurr knocks it away.
You would feel that the law of averages would tip the scale a bit more in your favor, yes?
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. Still maintain that, ironically, their ability to hit the back of the net, though not necessarily being an issue. The overall quality of chance creation going forward for me has been a bit more of a concern. Certainly that's been the case on the afternoon. You know, one of the great feeling out processes that we've seen within this league was when Neil Collins took over as interim in 2018 for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, full-time in 19. The way that he went about the system back then, he still had the idea that he wanted to play with three, be aggressive with his outside backs, create overloads, but his big thing was he wanted an out-and-out 10, a singular playmaker that was going to be the guy to facilitate everything. And they had to fail more times than they succeeded to figure out that it didn't need to be one person. That front line could be ever-changing. And so if you wanted to run with a Sebastian Guenzani, if you could rotate a Leo Fernandez into that, they had plenty of forwards that certainly moved through it as well. Those were two of the constants. He had these flexible players overall, Mike, that just found a way to create chances from within. It kind of feels like that's where they're going right now, where though they're not looking for an out-and-out 10, if you play Roro Lopez a little bit deeper, okay, who steps in front of them there? If they decide to play a bit more of a withdrawn front line, can you still create the stretch with just two strikers?
Lopez hangs this in. Dev, is there a dream number 10 for the Neil Collins system?
No, but they don't need one.
Yeah.
I would argue that that was one of my favorite things for the days under Mark Briggs, is they didn't have just that one guy.
Herrera knocking that across. There's Kai Green stepping in front of Pirano.
And to be fair, the freedom that you're given within the system, it doesn't call for that either. So much creates unbalance on the width that you're basically asking for personnel in advanced positions crashing in on the box when you get great service from the outside, and it's hard to argue there's anyone better in the game than Jack Gurr that's able to provide that.
Rodrigo Lopez, first start in the league this year, concludes at 81 minutes. All eyes for him turn to Wednesday night in San Jose. It'll be a matchup that'll carry a little extra for him. It'll be about 50 weeks removed from tearing his ACL against the Earthquakes in a 4-3 Open Cup set last season. And Lopez, one of the all-time greats in the championship. And usually greats end up being villains elsewhere. That's really not the case for Roro, which only underscores the kind of human being that he is. Comes off here at the Coliseum, his team leading. Good to see Nick Ross in. Dominic Fonner replaces Pirano. And a corner coming for Sacramento. And a little extra in the box sees Wilson on the ground. This is before the corner was even taken. And Luis Felipe was the one colliding with Wilson. Ooh, yellow card out to Felipe. Joins Benitez and Desmond one way, although Oakland, the team with the most yellows in the league, only have two, and one of those players is off the field. And Jai and Green are on caution. Well, sometimes a second chance is worthwhile. Such the case on this corner. McIntosh flying. Willie. Ball whipped to the near post, hits off the side netting. No chance. Let's take a look at the Best Western upcoming schedule. Louisville City and Pittsburgh Riverhounds set to meet next weekend on the CBS Sports Golazo Network. Two of the greats in the Eastern Conference. We're back on CBS Sports Network for a doubleheader May 28th. San Antonio and FC Tulsa, Las Vegas Lights and Phoenix Rising. Right here on CBS Sports Network. Vegas, one of the biggest turnarounds in league history last season, and probably the most shocking. San Antonio finding their form to start this year as well. Here come the changes. You can see Luis Saldana, the 21-year-old Project 510 player. That's the Oakland Academy. Giving tactical commentary. And then there's Danny Gomez, who I know you're fairly high on, former Project 510 vice captain a couple years ago. This is it, sub-wise. Wolfgang Prentice takes leave. Ball ricocheting around Saldana, now the whistle goes. Prentice can't add to his 4 goals in 7 games. I said, hey, what's been the difference with Prentice? And it was a big laugh as he said it, but Gavin Glidden said, well, he's listened.
He's listened.
Yeah, it was such a good line. He said, this is a guy that you'd never have to tell anything more than once or twice, and it sticks.
Yeah, trains the lights out. And
yeah.
Quite coy in his comments, Gavin Glidden. The wry smile after his opening comments and the levels of respect that he carries for Prentice. I would say that for Danny Gomez in the midfield, clean decision-making down the stretch is something that this team needs and hasn't had a bunch over the course of the afternoon. That's what he provides. It's also that area, Mike, right now that Sacramento Republic have really struggled with 4 separate times this year.
Saldana, as that bounced off Kleeman, ball coming back across toward Rasmussen. Sacramento just trying to get this away here in the 87th. Recovered by the Roots again. Ball whipped in front, first time Saldana, undercut by Timmer. And Oakland continues to apply pressure. Kleeman that time, and now blasted wide. Oakland knows it takes just one chance, but it was not that chance.
This is where I was going, though. It's been a half an hour since Republic have had a shot. Not on target, but actually gone off or after Kendall McIntosh. 4 times over the course of this season, we've seen Sacramento Republic with 15 minutes to go either be sitting in the driver's seat or level. All 4 times they've conceded. Phoenix, 78th minute. Louisville, 98th minute. Colorado Springs, 97th minute. And then Tulsa, in the 87th minute, that would culminate in a loss. 7 points overall that would have thrust them atop the Western Conference. No doubt about that. They'd be looking at a top 4 position right now instead of near the bottom coming into the afternoon. But it is part of that character aspect. You ask Neil Collins about it, and kind of you take the good times with the bad. These teams need experiences with each other. They've got to find a way to fight till the death, if you will. It's something that was always a part of the identity of the great Rowdies teams while he was at the helm.
Herrera. Corner. Home to such dramatic moments over the years. Oakland sports lore. Oracle Arena next door. Longtime home to that great Warriors dynasty. And here, of course, the Athletics, the Raiders, and now the Roots. They have to defend this corner and then hope they can put Sacramento to the sword. Handled part 1. Johnson, rather than accept the goal kick, wants to move this quickly upfield. Saldana. Ball into no man's land. Vidiello. Header down. That falls right to Vonner. Drilled out of play by Hackshaw. Centered, past Herrera. He's had to settle for doing yeoman's work today. Timmer. Timmer. Offside, self-inflicted wound from Gurr. Then that extra from Bravo. 6 added minutes, that is a world of time. Runs past Gurr. Danny Vidiello. Mark Briggs put it so aptly. He makes the "oh Jesus" saves. From Nashville, the number 3 wasn't playing, to Pittsburgh, where he arrived on trial and ended up winning the Golden Gloves. A starter in this league for the last 6 years from Massapequa in New York. Clever flick from Vonner. Not clever enough to outdo the offside flag. Oakland trying to sneak away from the pack into the 2nd minute of stoppage. Johnson against Benitez. McIntosh will chase it down. 1 of 5 from Oakland. When you include the Academy contracts, 10 players from Project 510, part of the group this year. Ball lob forward for the Roots. Vidiello nearly Brad Gazand it into the net.
I would say this game has lacked soul for this Oakland Roots team.
Is that a USLW League reference?
I tell you, man, it's just the best that I've seen this squad over the past couple of matches has seen aggression. Certainly high up on the field. I start about the pressure that you get out of that front line. You know, reciprocated by what is quality, organized defending in from behind. And while we've seen that throughout spurts over the course of the afternoon, I think the second that they made the change that saw Panos Armanakis come in, Camden Riley come out, it dropped Wolfgang Prentice deeper, and from there, they've really lacked any sort of venom on that front line in the open run of play.
Oakland goes to San Antonio in 6 days' time. Sacramento will go to San Jose on Wednesday. Still points on the line here. Backs that header. Johnson above the bar. Another 2 minutes to go here, looking for that equalizing goal. Saldana couldn't latch on. Rasmussen overtaken and commits the foul on Herrera. And precious time ticks away. Ugandan international Bobosi Biaruhanga through the back of Herrera. For Oakland, that's actually the return fixture. They played their first game here at the Coliseum against San Antonio. Unfortunately for them, on the wrong end of a bike. Today it might be the wrong end of a penalty in the 48th minute from Russell Cicerone. Herrera trying to hold up. That's a throw. Time ticks into the final minute. Another corner. This has been, in a word, clinical.
Agonizing from another angle.
Yeah, they have sucked all the air out of the building for the last 5 minutes. Now Rasmussen going chest to chest, extra push. Vonner joins in, inaugurated to the rivalry. And how much time, is there any time really remaining? These sides will meet again on August the 16th, an hour and a half away from here. Sacramento takes the opening fixture between the Republic and the Roots this year. Russell Cicerone, the winner from the spot in the 48th minute. And Sacramento catapults above the playoff line at the quarter pole of the USL Championship season. That's going to leave 13,000 plus walking out disappointed. Wrap up on the other side. This is the USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. After 90 minutes, it is confirmed. NorCal is red and white. Sacramento fans traveling up to the Coliseum. Watch Russell Cicerone power the Republic above the playoff line. A 1-0 victory. Coming up next, it's the barn burner in the Pro Volleyball Federation between Columbus Fury and Vegas Thrill. As for this game, a thrill no doubt. Sacramento, a 1-0 win over Oakland. For Devin Kerr, Mike Watts, thanks for watching this presentation of CBS Sports Network, 24-hour home of CBS Sports.